For nearly 20 years, a serial killer terrorized Washington state. His victims vanished without a trace, their bodies later found dumped in remote areas. The police had suspects, but the killer remained elusive. Until 2001, when a forensic breakthrough finally revealed his identity. The case began in 1982 when the bodies of 5 women were discovered near the Green River. They had been strangled, their remains discarded like garbage. Investigators soon realized they were dealing with a serial killer. The victims shared similarities. They were young women, many of them sex workers or runaways. The killer preyed on those who were vulnerable and least likely to be immediately reported missing. As more bodies appeared in wooded areas and remote locations, the case grew larger. By the mid-1980s, the Green River Killer was linked to over 40 murders, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Investigators pursued multiple suspects. One man stood out: Gary Ridgway, a quiet truck painter who had been arrested for soliciting prostitutes. He seemed ordinary, harmless even. But detectives had their suspicions. Ridgway was questioned in 1983 and even took a polygraph test, which he passed. With no solid evidence, police had to let him go. He faded into the background while the killings continued. With no leads, investigators turned to an unlikely source: Ted Bundy. From death row, Bundy offered chilling advice. The killer is returning to his victims. Stake out the bodies, and you might catch him. Following Bundy's suggestion, police monitored crime scenes, hoping the killer would return. But the Green River Killer was careful. He never came back. The case stalled, and frustration grew. By the 1990s, forensic technology had advanced, but the Green River Killer remained unidentified. Police had collected DNA samples from multiple crime scenes but had no way to match them. Then, in 2001, a breakthrough. DNA testing had evolved, and investigators re-examined evidence from old cases. The results pointed to one man, Gary Ridgway. On November 30th, 2001, Ridgway was arrested outside his workplace. After years of evading justice, he was finally caught. Investigators had enough evidence to charge him with multiple murders. At first, Ridgway denied everything. But as the evidence mounted, he began to talk. He admitted to killing 48 women but hinted that the real number could be much higher. His method was always the same: he lured women into his truck, strangled them, and disposed of their bodies in secluded areas. Some bodies were found years later, others remain missing to this day. Ridgway's reason for choosing his victims was chillingly simple. He believed sex workers were easy targets because people wouldn't notice them missing right away. He showed no remorse. Prosecutors sought the death penalty, but Ridgway struck a deal. In exchange for revealing the locations of missing victims, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Ridgway led investigators to multiple grave sites. Even decades later, new remains were discovered, bringing closure to some families. But many victims have never been found. Even today, the full extent of his crimes remains uncertain. He claims to have lost count of how many women he killed. Some believe his victim count may be over 70. Unlike other serial killers, Ridgway didn't seek attention. He didn't taunt police, write letters, or seek fame. He simply wanted to kill as efficiently as possible. The Green River Killer may be behind bars, but his crimes left scars that will never fully heal. Families still wonder what happened to their loved ones, and some may never get answers. What do you think? Was justice served, or should more have been done? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime cases.